Give us to like 8:05 and we'll get started, guys. How's everybody doing this evening? Please share this. We're talking about Russia-Ukraine conflict, how it started, where it's going, why we're here. Really excited to discuss this. I don't know if you guys know, my family immigrated here. I'll give you guys kind of a backstory while we're waiting for some people to pile in here. I was born in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, 2001. My grandfather was Ukrainian, grew up in Ukraine, Kiev. Was born in 1943 during the war. Tough environment. He was the youngest child. What's going on, Josh? Sound working good, brother? Check. Door's open, bro. Come on in. My co-host is late. Excuse my co-host. Anyways, I came here, was adopted. My biological dad, Igor, him and my mom got separated. So we ended up, my mom remarried an American guy, Jason Solomon, who at that age, the father figure to me, brought us over to the United States. Long story short, we kind of bounced around, lived all over the country, ended up. Yo, can barely hear me? Got 14 viewers. Can you guys hear me? Sound check. Is it better? Can you comment, please? Let me know if the sound is better. Yes? Okay. Thank you. And came to Wittenberg University. And I was going to be a dentist. Ended up actually getting into real estate and studying Russian and Central Eurasian studies. So I do have some perspective on the situation. Maybe how. Come on. And went to Wittenberg and studied Russian and Central Eurasian studies. Kind of got my feet wet about politics, geopolitics. You just pick her up. She's wrapped up with a co-host is here. He's late. Might have to fire him. You're fired.
I was waiting outside. Oh, my hands are so cold. Oh, goodness.
Good. Thanks for doing the sound check. We're going to get into it in just a couple minutes. Just a couple more minutes, guys, and we're going to get right into it. Let's start about the history of Russia, Ukraine. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to get Tim in here. Every time Tim comes in here, my kids always just want to play with him. He's just such a big teddy bear. Don't fire Terry. No, Tim, not Terry. Got some viewers here today from all over the place. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. I'm going to try to keep it brief, maybe about 25, 30 minutes, but I got a lot of notes to get through. Make sure to lock that door. You know how them kids are. We had to do an emergency broadcast stream after seeing what happened yesterday with Zelensky and Trump. So here he is, the man of the hour, Tim Sisler.
I've been waiting outside for like 45 minutes.
Unreal.
I know, you're telling me.
Unreal. So the reason we're coming live today, guys, is the situation with Ukraine. We're on the brink of potentially another war. We've been fueling this fire as a country, as giving all this money. But I wanted to kind of give a perspective, a unique perspective, me being someone that's an immigrant, someone that has, can you monitor this feed? See if people have questions. We're live on Facebook and also on YouTube if you wanted to share that. You guys could share this so that your friends could also ask questions. Good evening, Sherry, Babe, Jeremy, Josh, Joseph, Jake, Matt. About 18 viewers right here. So I've already did a little intro. Now we're just going to get right into it. So if you guys aren't familiar with the history of Russia, I'm just going to give you a very, very, very brief and a brief history of how Russia and Ukraine have basically been the same country, grew from the same Christianity, from the same roots, from 882 AD in Novgorod, and then in Kiev with Christianity being the main religion from Oleg and the whole family tree. And then to the Mongols taking over in 1237 to 1240. Ukraine was the steppe. It was where the horse people of the Mongolians could get very easily all the way to the steppe. Ukraine has some of the nicest, richest, fertile soil in the world. It's been tried. It's several times. Many empires have tried to colonize it because of the rich soil and the minerals that are in the ground. Hitler tried to do it in World War II. But before we get there, so the Mongols, Genghis Khan, 1237 to 1240, they took over the country. They took over that area up until about Ivan's time, which was in the 15th century. Ivan the Terrible. If you guys are familiar with him,
He's a good guy.
Wasn't a good guy.
He's misunderstood. Actually, I don't know much about him. I'm joking. He's probably awful. I probably just said something terrible.
It was actually, there was, you could look this up. Polish, Lithuania, there was an empire. They went to war with what was considered Russia at that time. And there was a treaty of perpetual peace in, I believe, 1686 that was made. And this is really the original place where, original spot where Ukraine was under the control of Russia. And so this is like 337, 339 years ago. So it goes way back. That's longer than the United States has been around, that this country has been under the control of Russia. So it goes way back. It's unlike Russia just came in there 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, literally hundreds and hundreds of years ago, it came in. And so there's mutual relations, mutual connections. This is why Russians and Ukrainians, they've interbred just like myself and my family and my family tree and my lineage up until now. So now, they try to separate and divide. And who's doing that? Like, what's the reason why we're fighting basically brother against brother? This is what it is. This is like a civil war. And people want to distinguish themselves. I'm this, I'm that. There was always, my grandpa always told me, matter of fact, I want to show you guys something interesting, something cool. I think you guys will find this interesting. This is Kiev. If you can see that right here, it says Kiev. It's in Russian. This is the state capital of Ukraine. This is a legacy. This is a piece that has been passed down from my family generation to generation. We brought this over from Russia. This is made out of, I don't know if you can tell. Let me zoom it in. This is handmade out of straw. This is Kiev. This is where my grandfather's from. Hangs up in my office, actually right here. I took it down. So going back to the history of it, so we've got the Treaty of Perpetual Peace after the Polish-Russian War. It's about 337, 339 years ago. It's called the Russo-Polish War. And after that, Crimea was annexed in 1783, literally hundreds of years ago. We hear of the invasion of Russia invading Crimea in 2022, I believe. But this has been literally a warm port. Russia doesn't have a lot of warm ports. It's a very northern country. So there's very few ports. And so this port is very vital to the security, the national interest of the country. Crimea is it has a large military base there. And so when Russia took that over, because it was being in a position where they had to defend themselves, some people will say, well, Putin is a bad guy. Who knows? He's defending his national interest. So what happened is in 1954, Khrushchev, who was the leader at that time, even though it was one Soviet Union, it was 15 independent republics that were one. Khrushchev transferred the interest of Crimea to the Republic of Ukraine. And this is where we get into, well, it's part of Ukraine or it's part of Russia. It's been part of Russia for hundreds of years. It was on paper transferred over as a sign of good faith after World War II. And speaking of World War II, Tim, do you know how many people died from the Soviet Union in World War II?
I don't. I'm sure it's a terribly huge number.
It was close to 24 million. Let's see, I've got the information right here. Can you read what that says right there?
Oh my gosh. 9,750,000 military and 14,250,000 civilians died.
And how many from Germany? Germany's number 3 here on
5,533,000 military and then 2,167,000 civilian.
United States is not even on the chart, barely any. It's funny because in the United States, people say, well, United States won the war. Really? It wasn't fought on this continent. All we did was drop a couple bombs on some people. We're so holier than thou. We bombed hundreds of thousands of people. But United States won the war.
It is not we. Like, I didn't bomb anybody. Like,
But-
I'm on the side that says that all life is sacred and it's very important. And I don't think government should have the ability to just wantonly execute that many innocent civilians. Like, that's 14,700,000 civilians that died because of egos, died because of stupid ideas. Anyway, go ahead.
Long story short, we collaborated together. We worked together, right? We had a mutual interest in protecting each other. United States, now it seems like people want to separate. People don't want to work together as in the interest of the world. And this is what I feel like truly, me being someone that has family both in Ukraine, family in Russia, family in the United States. I think everybody would like to see peace, which is what Donald Trump is proposing. I don't want to keep sending $350 billion to a country and then half of it gets lost.
Well, so, they're saying that basically this war, it would potentially go for another year. And after one more year, if we just give it one more year of investments, that's military arms, that's, money. And that's, most importantly, that's just innocent lives of people who are being sacrificed for this. One more year of that, and Russia would be to the point where they would be begging for, a ceasefire. But it takes just one more year of random people, just innocent people dying.
For what? For what reason? That's my question. Why do we still have this war? It's because the military-industrial complex, right? Who really runs the world? I don't think it's this president, that president. It's people, families that have been in charge, that have accumulated billions and billions and billions of generational wealth rolled into. You talk about the Rothschild, the Bilderberg, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, all these people that have accumulated. That's what really pulls the string. Presidents come and go. 4 years, 8 years, whatever, 1 term, 2 term. Do you think you're really going to be able to change the trajectory of the world if you're in office for 1 or 2 terms?
Doubtful.
So let me get back into the notes. It's a little bit of history lesson right there. So we, as Russian Ukrainians, it's a one people. We've been together, combined, conjoined together for longer than the United States has been around. So it's not like we just all of a sudden came together and then all of a sudden just broke apart. We've been as one people, brother and brother. It's so sad to see the killings. I don't know how many people have died. Millions of people have died, lost their lives. And we just keep pouring and fueling this fire, which is what's the most aggravating part of this whole situation.
Well, so there was a president that was elected, Yanukovych, I believe. He was elected on the terms basically, and what he ran on was that he understood that not Uzbekistan, that Ukraine was practically 50% Russian, 50% Ukrainian. And he understood that if they moved closer towards NATO, they would cause a problem and they would have this situation where brothers are killing brothers. And he won that election, but then was overthrown.
So you were talking about the Orange Revolution. If you guys aren't familiar with the Orange Revolution of 2004, it was Viktor Yanukovych versus Viktor Yushchenko. Originally, Yanukovych ran against, we're not going to join the NATO. So let's back up a little bit. We had World War II. 24 million Russians died, or Soviets died at that time. The Nazis came in and they took Ukraine. They killed a bunch of people. They also had a bunch of people join them. Then after World War II was over, Soviet Union took Ukraine back, took those people back, dissidents, they kicked them out, got rid of them, relocated them. So there's this deep internal dislike of and distrust of Germans, Russians. These people are Cossacks. The Ukrainians, these were the steppe people. These were the mercenaries back in the day. These were highly independent, highly self-sustaining folks that were hired for like hitmen. Basically, they were the, if you needed some dirty work done, you would call the Ukrainians, the Cossacks, the steppe people. That's what they were. They were horse riders. They were just like the cowboys, the people of the wild west. These are the kind of people. They're very resilient, very strong people. And so after World War II, they went back to Ukraine. Soviet Union collectivized farming. They took all the farms from the people, personal property. They killed off a bunch of people, did horrible things to these folks. So I can understand why these people have a hatred of being controlled by somebody else. So NATO, after World War II, the reason that NATO existed is for North American Peace Treaty Agreements. North Atlantic Treaty. So if anybody attacked anybody in North America or in Europe, it's basically like attacking all of the countries. And so
it was the clique.
Right. And when it was no longer necessary, after Soviet Union fell apart back in 1989, there has been many presidents in Russia that have tried to make peace. Not make peace, but join NATO and to come together with NATO, like Boris Yeltsin tried to do it in 1991. Clinton and Putin talked about this, and it was never Russia was never welcome in this organization. However,
so in 1990,
but the original agreement, which was all like a verbal assurance, it was never written.
Secretary of State James Baker.
There you go. Not an inch eastward. That was the agreement. Not 1 inch eastward. However, if you guys look at the map, we're now in the backyard of Russia, and we've got all these countries that joined.
So 1 inch turned into 10 countries. So 1 inch turned into Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic. It turned into Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. That's less than an inch, apparently.
So the understanding was, that's very good. Thanks for getting that together. The understanding was there would be very like separation. So you wouldn't be able to put your nuclear weapons, your defense system in place. We have the defense system right now, or the defense system is in 4 countries. I believe it's in Spain, it's in Poland.
It's all Eastern Europe.
There's Germany and Romania. They have these ballistic weapon systems sites that have been put in place against Russia, even though Soviet Union fell apart. So why do we even have this? Why don't we have Russia join the NATO? And here's the stipulations. Boom, 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 boom. Why was that never done? I'm just curious. So going back to 1991, Ukraine wanted independence. More than 90% of the people voted to have independence. There was actually started surprisingly by Ronald Reagan back in 1983, National it's an NGO, which is a non-government agency, which was started in 1983 called NEFD. NEFD. and along with many, many other NGOs. So what had happened is, for example, if you look at the Orange Revolution of 2004 in Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, who originally won, got challenged by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court had said that Viktor Yushchenko is the actual winner. And there was a lot of meddling by Open Society Foundation, which, if you guys know or don't know, is ran by George Soros, as well as the same organization I just said, NEFD. These non-government agencies go in there, hire people. Basically, they're paid actors to go in there, and for lack of a better use, they create chaos to make it look like there's a lot of issues going on and a lot of discontent going on in the country. And so these NGOs are there to destabilize. And this is exactly what we did. If you look at 2010, 2011, do you guys remember the Arab Spring? Do you guys remember Gaddafi in Libya? Do you guys remember Ben Ali in Tunisia? Do you guys remember Mubarak in Egypt? Where the United States, through things like USA, through all these different things that we're seeing now, thank you to Doge and Elon Musk and all these different organizations that we're seeing, we're funding these NGOs so they can go ahead and create problems for the country, so we can destabilize it, so we can get rid of the leader, and then we can put somebody more favorable in there. Thank you to the United States. Thank you to the taxpayers. This is what we do. This is documented. So if you're the leader of the biggest country in the world with the most amount of resources in the world, what would you think? Just curious. Comment below.
Well, let me pose this to you, right? So imagine there's an organization that's just a group of countries that get together, and then for like 72 days, they bomb a country. They're targeting Serbia, and for 40, it's NATO. NATO bombed Serbia or Yugoslavia for like 40 days, and that's NATO. That's the people that are on their doorsteps. That's the people that are moving towards Russia. And yeah, Tommy, I think it would be awesome if Russia we would have peace. We would have so much great would be in the world if Russia was able to join NATO. But it's pretty much just an army of armies, and they're kind of enacting their policies across the world.
So the same thing that happened in 2004 with these NGOs, in 2010 in Ukraine, Yanukovych, the guy that originally won in 2004, got reelected. But there was so much money, so much resources that poured into the NGO to cause more protest. Yanukovych had to dip out. He had to leave. He left the country. And so we're progressing closer to Russia, putting more weapons there. There was a clear red line that's being crossed and crossed and crossed. And you don't have to be a genius. I mean, I don't have to be a political analyst to be able to tell you that you just keep poking and poking and poking and poking and poking and poking and poking. And this is exactly what's been going on. And eventually, it's just like you were talking about. I've got little kids. Tim watches the kids all the time. Tell them what you talked about earlier.
Well, I watch the kids from time to time, and I'm kind of a softie when it comes to kids, so they know that, especially Anastasia, if she cries, I'm like, dude, what's going on? So she's kind of learned that she can go and she can like smack Dimitri, and if Dimitri like shoves her back, she's just gonna break down. She's like, oh my gosh, your big brother smacked me, your big brother pushed me, and I know what's going on. But that's pretty much what's going on. Like she provokes him, and then she knows that she's gonna get a response, because she wants to cause drama. She wants to cause some issues. And that's pretty much what's going on. They're poking the bear, and they're getting mad when the bear wakes up and tries to maul them.
And now they want us to support that behavior, that president. They want us to support, no, I'm getting bullied. When in reality, the globalists, and it's not even Zelensky. Zelensky is a puppet. It's these globalists, like I said, that are out there controlling the pharmaceutical industry, that are out there controlling the military industrial complex, because it's not profitable for people to be healthy. It's profitable for them to give you medication. It's profitable for them to have a war and for them to go in to rebuild. So check this out. Guess what? Now parts of Ukraine are demolished, even though Zelensky didn't accept it, didn't admit it. They're demolished. And guess what happens? BlackRock comes in. No problem. No problem. How much money you need? 400 billion? No problem. We'll help you rebuild. But guess what? They're not just blindly giving you the money. We want to secure it by equity, by guess what? By your resources. Guess what? Guess what Europe did? EU did. They secured their money that they invested into Europe with resources, whereas Biden gave away $350 billion, of which half was lost, something close to it, and nothing was collateralized or secured by actual resources. So the deal that went down the other day with Zelensky and Trump was for the mineral rights, for the equity to repay the monies that have been given to them. And so globalists are in the same position. So this is where it was a strong play to come in and tell Zelensky, hey, if we're going to keep helping you, you need to go ahead and give us the rights to your minerals. Otherwise, you're going to be by yourself. You and EU, good luck. Good luck with that. I don't know what chance they stand. All I want to see is peace. That's all I want to see.
Yeah, that's why I agreed to even be part of this. He's like, dude, I just want to see people stop dying. Like, I really do. I hate the idea that the people who are dying are the innocent people. They're the people who are just bystanders. They just live there. You have people who live there still. Lovely family members. They're wonderful people, and they're there. So it's a scary time for all those people over there, and it just has to stop. I don't think that we should keep feeding this. Like if you have cancer, why would I smile? I'm just kidding. No, if you have cancer, generally you got to stop eating sugar. You got to go chemo. You got to cut it off. You got to stop growing cancer. And basically this war is cancer. This war is killing people. Russians is killing Ukrainians. It's costing a lot of money. It's costing a lot of resources, and it should not keep going on.
Let me ask you guys a question. I want you to comment below. We have two powers in play. We have NATO, which has close to a billion people, or close to 45% of GDP of the world. And on the other side, we have BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, as well as Iran is in there because obviously they're connected with China. Who do you guys think, if things broke out, who do you think would have a better chance?
So, Sherry, that is a great point. That's exactly what I'm saying, and I appreciate you saying it more eloquently than I do.
Let's see what else. Molly said, correct Zelensky's puppet, 100%. Money, power, greed. Cure cancer. Yeah, I don't want to cure. Hey, if you guys want to cure cancer, follow Lindsey Duncan. Follow Lindsey Duncan. He's on the feed. The guy's a genius.
Food to fuel, baby.
Yeah, Putin asked Clinton to join. That was back in 2000. Do you guys remember back in 2001? Who was the first person that reached out to George Bush after 9/11 to offer support and offer aid to fight terrorism worldwide? Comment below. It wasn't Xi Jinping. It was Putin. Matter of fact, he let NATO fly over the airspace. They allowed mutual use of bases so they can fight off terrorism. But then back in 2003, we invaded Iraq, and then he's like, whoa, hold on, what's going on? And then you've got Georgia in 2008, which if you guys want a good read, this is a great book that I read back when I was in college, A Little War That Shook the World. This was about how we're having all these revolutions, how all of these puppet NGOs were going in and overthrowing, destabilizing countries. And Putin said, no, we're not doing this no more. Like, he's getting back when this happened back in 2008, when that war in Georgia happened, there was already signs that there was the lack of mutual respect was going away. Because again, go back to Arab Spring, 2010, 11, Libya, Gaddafi, Egypt, Yemen, all these different countries all across Africa.
Well, the Russians so there's all kinds of people being overthrown. We may or may not have been involved in that, but I do know supposedly at one point there was a conversation about Ukraine that was between Jeffrey Piat and Victoria Nuland, and they were just kind of discussing what the next Ukrainian government should look like, who the leader should be, and the Russians intercepted that, and that's when they kind of got up in arms. They're like, wait a minute, wait, hold on. America's doing a little bit too much, a little too close. So they put something on the table. From what I understand, it was a agreement. It was basically to put that not another inch on paper, because that's where they kind of dropped the ball. Since 1990, they never had an actual agreement. It was a verbal agreement. So it was never really enforceable. So they put a treaty together, and they wanted to have basically everyone in NATO agree, hey, no more inches are going to be taken. And they said no. NATO has an open door policy.
Well, that's a good point. And speaking of NATO, did you guys watch J.D. Vance address Munich in the conference just about a week ago? Comment below. Here, he addressed NATO members, and he talked about how their shared values are not aligned anymore with the United States, meaning our First Amendment rights are being trampled. If you didn't get the shot, then you were going to lose your job. Very similar to the things that we did here. But NATO is no longer having shared values with the United States. They're blocking people on social media. They're blocking social media platforms. X, for example, is blocked right now.
How'd you get in here? Well, okay. Anastasia just came in and took Arthur. I don't know what he was talking about. I wasn't really paying attention. But what I have to say is that a lot of us are focusing on this war in Ukraine and in Russia when we haven't even made our beds. A lot of people have to get, we can focus on making changes in our own lives, and we can actually have great success. We can talk about this all day until we're blue in the face. But like Lindsey Duncan said, Trump and Vance know 98% more than what we know. So we don't really know much. We know what we hear. So if you want to get control of your life, if you want to figure some stuff out locally, that's where we can make some big differences. Welcome back.
Thank you. Also, just going back with the NATO, what's the reason NATO still exists to this day? I'm still scratching my head. I'm trying to figure it out, because we don't have this big boogeyman anymore, Russia. We're not trying to stop the spread of communism. But it was an interesting stat. I was looking at what percentage of GDP, and comment below if you guys know, what percentage of GDP does the United States contribute towards NATO? And what's the second closest ally that contributes? And by the way, the agreement is they have to contribute at least 2%, 2% minimum. Most of them don't. Trump in his first term says, you guys aren't doing anything. If you're not paying, we're not going to protect you. So 3.47% as of 2022, 3.47%, which is $811 billion of the GDP, was provided by the United States to protect European interests. Yet we have an ocean away, right? The second closest ally was United Kingdom at $73 billion, which is 11 times less. Yet they have a much higher invested interest in seeing security. So we're protecting them. We're paying for it. Yet we're getting robbed, and they're not even. If I was to have NATO, I would imagine the biggest reason we have NATO is to prevent World War III, not to start World War III, not to provoke the biggest nation in the world with the most amount of resources, natural resources, land. They should be in place to protect us from World War III. And it seems to me like they're doing the complete opposite.
it's not a peace organization. NATO's not a peace organization. NATO's a war organization. You know, you don't break bread with your friends. You know, you break bread with your enemies. You know, you make up with your enemies.
Well, I'm just throwing this out there. BRICS has got 3.2 billion people on its side. Again, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, versus NATO. It's got 31 countries, and it's less than 1 billion people. The only thing is NATO does control 45% of the world GDP, whereas BRICS controls about 31% of the GDP. But look at what's happening in China. Look at the advancements. Look at the Belt and Road Initiative that's being set up, that's going through Russia, the China-Russia connection. Look at all of that. And if you take all of these things into consideration, what is NATO doing to protect, again, how are we working together to keep the world a safer place? That's all I want to see. I want the worst to end. Obviously, the military-industrial complex doesn't want that to happen. And so that's where you have a puppet that just goes on. And just like you've seen, Zelensky going in, wanting more, not appreciating what's already been done, not appreciating the deal that was put in front of him and his cabinet. And quite frankly, I'm pretty happy with the result of the meeting, if I can be truly honest. What do you guys think? Are you guys happy, unhappy? I don't care. Whether you guys like it, don't like it, just comment below. I just want to hear from you guys. Follow the money and the control. Yep. Lindsay, all right on the point. 40 plus, Jake, 40 plus U.S. funded biolabs on Russia's border and an invite to join NATO started this war. Russia didn't decide, hey, let's take big parts of Ukraine and make Russia great again. They were provoked and had right to push back. 1,000%. 1,000%. And then they're going to cry, oh, Russia's so bad. Putin's so bad. Listen, is it a perfect country? No. But what do you expect? I'm just curious. When I was growing up as a kid, my mom could tell you, Mom, are you watching this? I know you're watching this, Mom. Comment below. How were the conditions in Russia when I was a little kid, like 93, 94, 95? You couldn't get bread. You couldn't get butter. You couldn't get milk. You couldn't get the basic necessities. So to crawl out from that situation to even have a country was a miracle in the first place.
Man, we got to get Lindsay on here. He's got a lot to say. But I agree with him.
What do you guys think should be the peaceful resolution for this? How do you think this is going to work out? Do you think time is going to solve it? Do you think money is going to solve it? Do you think if United States pulls back altogether? Do you think if the United States should step back from NATO altogether?
I don't think that we should step. We've invested way too much into NATO. It's part of our military now, pretty much. We've invested, like I said, we've invested way too much. That'd be a bad deal. But we should always, if we have an open door, we should have an open door policy for everyone. If that's the way NATO is going to be run, we should allow, if Putin wants to join, to join. If China wants to join, let them join. I mean, it's crazy, but
have basic ruls.
If you're a member, NATO has basic rules. It has basic guidelines and stuff. They're actually not basic. They're really in detail. But the thing is, we don't know what's been said. We don't know what's been discussed. You know, what if it was just a quick agreement that said, "Hey, we'll back out. Like Russia will back out of Ukraine, and if we agree not to move any closer to Russia,
do you think we should?
That means no Ukraine in NATO."
Okay, well, how does that leave Ukraine? What happens to the 20% of the territory that has been obtained by Russia over the course of the special operation?
Again, like I said, like I don't know.
Well, what do you think?
What do I think?
What would you do?
Well,
comment below. Do you think what should happen to the 20% of the five different states, so to speak, of Ukraine?
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about the places that actually already. Like all of the citizens claim they are Russian already, right?
Where they did the referendum?
Yeah, like those people are. So
Are you familiar with the referendum?
Not necessarily, but I do know that there's a lot of people in many countries that neighbor Russia who already believe they're Russian. Like they're not in Russia, but they live the lifestyle as if they are Russian. They identify as Russians.
Minerals are worth more than anyone knows.
Yeah, what minerals? If anybody could let me know, what minerals are being found in Ukraine now? Like, what is everybody looking for?
Lithium for the chips, microchips. It was the breadbasket. I believe it was called the breadbasket of
Hopefully,
Europe.
we find some Valium over there so we can all chill out, right? Just kidding.
Zelensky found plenty of Valium. Graphite. Okay, well, if we let them decide, should they just pay for it themselves then? Titanium.
Ooh.
On a scale of 1 to 10, being how do you think Trump and Vance handled Zelensky? Personally, I watched it. I was actually up until 2:00 in the morning last night, and my wife comes out. She's like, "What are you doing still up?" I was like, I just couldn't put it down. I was watching this. 11. I thought they showed a lot of backbone, that they're not putting up with this childish stuff. They don't want the war to continue. They're not going to be sat there and taught about geopolitical issues, about NATO. It's so much bigger than Ukraine. Ukraine is just a small little country. It's about NATO. We're talking about a big organization. So I thought it was handled great personally. I would say, could it be less interrupting and things of this nature? I would give it a 9. I give it a 9 out of 10, Ron. How about you?
I mean, for me, I haven't really seen the whole thing. All I'm seeing is what the news is showing, and I'm seeing like the big argument that happened. I don't know what led up to it. I try not to engage with all that kind of stuff.
Good to know. Thank you. Scroll back up a little bit. See what we got.
Lindsay gives him 11.
Musk needs lithium.
Yeah, and Mark and Jake, I appreciate you guys' input. Now I know. Thanks for the quick reply.
So sick of the war. Oh, it won't happen. Yeah, we'll just get started in another war somewhere else. I can see the video of whole meeting.
Well,
before.
I mean, that's not true. You know, Trump's last presidency, we didn't start any. We didn't have any new wars. We actually ended wars that had started.
I agree. You have to start things up. Mom says 10. My mom was just telling me, my grandma, you know, I've got a lot of family still over in Russia. And so they're cheering for peace. They're cheering for diplomacy. And I think that's what we can all ask for and hope for. The previous organization, for example, I can't even go back to Russia to visit my family because we don't even have diplomatic relations anymore with Russia. Like, it's so silly. This is so childish. Like, you can't even sit down as grown adults to resolve your issues and come to a meeting of the mind. We literally don't have an embassy anymore in the United States, in Washington, D.C. How are you ever going to come to a middle ground if you don't have a diplomacy? I think it's the most childish play to not even be able to communicate. We may disagree, guys, and I'm sure that a lot of what I said you guys would disagree with. But this is the beauty of America. This is why I love this country. We can agree to disagree. We can settle in the middle. We can settle on a solution. We can agree on some things. This is part of the negotiation. It's all negotiation. That's why I love Trump, because he's a great negotiator. What's we got?
War is money or goods at the end of the day. It's a big business, and that is true.
Thank you, Sherry. Money. It's all about money, really. Lynn, what does that say?
What the heck? Okay, so they got
Coal, titanium.
lithium. The number one is lithium, titanium, uranium, iron,
Rare earth minerals, coal, natural gas, and oil. We really don't need their gas and oil because we dominate that. The United States does not have the natural resources, the rare minerals that Ukraine does, but we do have an abundance of oil and gas in the United States. Thank you for that, Lindsay. I hope this comes to an end. I hope that that we can get together with our partners in Ukraine, my family in Ukraine, family in Russia. I would love to go back and visit my family.
I was gonna say, when's the last time you got a chance to go see him?
We've been here since January 11th of 2001, and we have never been back. And there's no chance for us to ever go back at this rate. Gave enough money to fix the world hunger. Yeah, but where did it go? Do you guys think that Doge should investigate where the money went? I just saw that popped up today. Did you see that?
What was it?
Elon's considering investigating all of the money that went to Ukraine to see.
Well, half of it is missing. It's like unaccounted for.
If you were a business owner and you lost half of your money, you'd be out of business and you'd be investigated by the IRS. Let me go right off on my taxes. I don't know where half the money is, guys. Guess where I would be? They'd lock me up in jail. Try doing that. Yes, yes, yes. Everybody's saying yes.
I'll call Charlie here shortly and tell him.
Not a single no. 100%. No, it's gone. Absolutely. Who's that? Does wild bear shit in the woods? Yes.
It's possible. I've never seen it.
Audit the Ukraine funding. Yes. Thank you guys for commenting. Let's see.
All right.
Should be investigated.
Yeah, are you guys? Another question. Are you guys happy with what Doge is doing? There's a lot of people who think that this is just like some crazy government takeover by a tyrant, but it seems like it's an audit of the government, in my opinion. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think Doge is doing a great job.
How do you think our adversaries look at us when they see that we're so incompetent to the fact that we don't even know what happens to this money? Like to me, if I'm somebody from the other side, I'm like thinking to myself, these guys are a bunch of idiots. Or they're just pure laundering the money, and their citizens are a bunch of idiots. No wealthy birth.
Well, I think that they're probably seeing us like the biggest,
Todd.
richest country around because we can invest in silly things like whether or not squirrels have nightmares. You know, that's like wearing the biggest chain around. You know, like I got the biggest, most expensive necklace I can have, just wearing it on my neck so you can see that I got a lot of money. So that's why we do it. We invest in stupid stuff like finding out if pepper actually makes things taste better, or if squirrels have nightmares.
I don't know. That's really, to me, I would say that needs to be funded, if you're asking me.
Yeah, it makes me sad when these people are losing their jobs for that kind of stuff. Because I'll never know. I'll never know the answer now. Like, I'm super bummed. I told you the other day.
What's the craziest? Been looking through a lot of this wasteful spending. Millions, billions of dollars. There's some people that are like 300 years old getting paid. What's the craziest thing that you guys have seen that we're giving money for through USA Aid, through all these different programs?
Let me give you mine. Right. And this broke my heart because this was something that was like near and dear to me. There was like $20 million that was going to fund a program that taught, I believe, Palestinians about degenerate art. So like paintings of urinals and stuff. They taught them that, yes, it's a painting of a urinal, but it's a painting and it's art. And that means a lot. So it meant $20 million to America. It was a good investment.
Unbelievable. What else we got on here? Yeah, Sean, why are they not throwing a fit about why are we not throwing a bigger fit about them stealing our money? Obama phones.
Listen, the Obama phones helped a lot of people. But I also heard that Obamacare is actually paying United States is paying royalties to Obama for the use of his name in Obamacare.
I saw that.
I don't know if that's true. If anybody can verify that, that'd be great. But
Obama's smart. I mean, I would
That's
give
brilliant.
him credit for getting royalties. So can't hate on the player like that. Sending $40 million a month to Taliban. I just saw that, Ron. Unreal. What are we even doing? It's just unbelievable that we get to see this live. I never thought that this day would actually come, that I'll be standing here and we would have this ridiculous conversation about what we're actually spending and sending money for.
Well, I knew this was coming, man. I'm a big fan of Ron Paul. I know you used to be a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Rand Paul. You used to be a big fan of Ron Paul, but Rand Paul has been pointing this stuff out for a decade. He's got a website called "Where's the Pork?"
Interesting.
They talk about all of the unnecessary government funding.
Yeah. I mean, Ron Paul wanted to audit the IRS, which is a non-government controlled agency. They can just do whatever they want, basically. So
anyway, we're way off topic. We're talking about the Ukraine and NATO.
This is a great point Jake Harvey just made. Ukraine has the goods. When the Germans lost Crimea and Ukraine, late in World War II, they ran out of oil and almost all the other materials necessary to continue the war. It's literally stopped them in their tracks during the battle of the Bulge. Control of Ukraine is essential to the control of Europe. Yeah. And then they went after the oil fields in Stalingrad, and they lost in 1943. And veterans are homeless. Yeah. Hey, but we got this money for $59 million, Ron, for illegals coming here and staying in our hotels.
Well, so that was spent for homeless people to stay in the hotels. It was a terrible investment. It was a really, really dumb thing that we did. That was meant to be to actually build low income housing for people, but they instead, from what I understand, just invested in basically the Red Roof Inn to house people there, and that's something that happened here in town.
So many things. Let's see.
But then we have Snyder Park. If you guys have driven through there lately, it's unbelievable.
You guys watched the commission meeting this past week. Michael Morris, shout out Michael Morris. He made a great point. He says Springfield was the champion city, but we lost our way about us.
Wait, so
we focus on those that are victims, those that are the poorest, and we don't focus on championing the champion spirit anymore. And that's what I feel like America's missing right now, or was missing before we got back on track. And now we're winning again. How does it feel? I feel like it feels great. Are we showing some backbone now? Yeah. Are we cutting back now? Yeah. It feels great to be a part of this change. This conversation right here would have never happened if we had another 4 years of money laundering and Burisma. I don't know if you guys ever researched Burisma.
Well, the money would have just gone straight there. There would have been no questions asked. Just go ahead. We got you.
So I'm just very thankful that we're not at this point. Let's see if we got any other.
So here's the thing, Chris Glandon. I need a little bit more in depth on this. Did you create a GPT to audit Doge, basically? Question mark.
Josh, great point. If you guys are familiar with Lindsey Duncan, if you are not, follow him. The cure for the C word has been around for a long time. There's Dr. Seppi, SEPI. There's multiple, like you can do your research, or if not, contact someone that's an expert like Lindsey Duncan.
Well, but
reach out.
Lindsey Duncan also has, I'm not saying he has a cure for cancer, but he does have a lot of life-changing things. Lindsey, if you're still on here, could you link your website so people can maybe look into some of your stuff? And
All In Nutritionals. Just type in All In Nutritionals on Facebook. Follow that page. Reach out. Send a message. I'm not a doctor. None of this is medical advice, but he's definitely an expert in the field.
Well, listen, I've been taking the food to fuel, and I feel great.
Cancer loves sugar. Exactly. And
That's
what do
what
we
I said.
eat? That's why everyone is overweight. That's why we have these problems, because the first thing, what do they do when you go to the radiation treatment? They pump you up full of sugar and they see where your cancer is, right? So if you don't give it that fuel, then you won't have any cancer. So thank you, Sherry. One of the highest gas taxes in the state and worst roads in the state as well. I don't know, Jake. That's a good question. Are you talking about the city? Are you talking about the county? Are you talking about highways? Or just the city?
Well, I know for the road taxes here, not recently, maybe like 6 years ago or something, we did I don't know, maybe a 400-foot linear, like 400-foot section of home road, and they had it posted. It was on a plaque that it cost $541,000 to basically redo that street, which is practically robbery.
I mean, anytime you have the government involved in something, you're getting screwed. You're overpaying. It's not like a live business, which I had a great client when I first got into real estate, and he told me this principle. He says, Arthur, I don't care if you win, lose, or draw. If you go into politics, you need to have 5 years of experience, whether you win, lose, or draw, 5 years of business experience. Listen, if you can't manage your money, if you can't run a business, if you can't hire people, fire people, then you shouldn't be in politics, because that's what politics is. It's a business. And if you can't do that, how are these politicians get so rich? How is the Nancy Pelosi's of
Most
the
of
world,
them
the
are
Chuck
activists.
Schumers?
They're activists, and they're not sure what's really going on. They start getting bought out.
Road tax passed. How much they brought in? I would love to see that, Ron. I would love to see more details of what happened. From if you watch Rubio, Marco Rubio, he's the Secretary of State, I believe. I could be wrong. If you watch his commentary on I believe it was Fox, maybe it wasn't. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was late. I was watching all this stuff last night. He goes into detail of what happened during the meetings. If you wanted to check that out, let's see, Ron.
Yeah, I'm over here reading this feed and just nodding along. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Processed food.
Sorry, guys, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Politicians historically, they're not business people. That's why this now seems so much different to people. People are kind of losing their mind, thinking that this is so bad, because it's just not the status quo. These are people who actually know how to run a business. And like I said, with America's investment in NATO, that was a business venture.
I was having a conversation speaking of things that should be ran like a business. Department of Education, for example. I was having a conversation with my really good friend Taj Barton, my old roommate from Wittenberg, and we were talking about
Taj. I think you're a great dude. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Hey, so we were having this conversation. So Springfield City Schools, I love Springfield. I choose to call Springfield my home, but we have a failing district. We have the worst school district by SAT and all these different scores, reading levels, math, and all these different levels. Yet they still get funded. So my question to you is, why are we so for example, if I have a salespeople. If I have salespeople and they don't produce any sales, why would I give them anything if they don't make any sales? I would cut them off, and I would instead give that money to the parents so they can go and decide whether they want to send the kids to this school or whatever. Why don't we let the parents decide? Why are we keep pumping this? And so that question I had is that Taj posed to me, which I thought was a great question, is like, well, what happens to these kids' lunch if they can't eat lunch or breakfast because it's the only meal that they have a day? Which I agree with. I think that school system should provide some sort of a lunch program if they're there all day, or some sort of a milk or water or some sort of nutritional items. And then I said, okay, so how much does a banana cost? Do you guys eat bananas? Do you guys eat apples? We make cheeseburgers out of processed meat with processed cheese, with food coloring, with bread and starch and carbs and trash and fillers. There's no nutritional value. There's no vitamins. Okay, so cut out the cheeseburger.
That makes all of our meat red. I think it's sodium chloride.
I don't know. Please verify. Fact check Tim.
Lindsay, fact check me.
Why? So the question I had was, okay, so instead of feeding them this garbage, why don't we give them a banana and an apple and a water? How much does that cost? Does that cost a lot of money? I bet you it costs a lot more money to cook it, deliver it, store it, freeze it, manufacture it, than it would just be to get an apple, get a banana, here you go. We don't have to do anything. It's fresh picked, it's delivered, and you eat it right there. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to cook. There's no heat. There's no stove. There's no maintenance. There's no repairs. Nothing. You're reducing the waste. You're reducing the carbon emissions. So why don't we cut out more of the Department of Education, give it to the parents, give the students some more healthy options instead of giving them cheeseburgers and processed milk with sugar and trash? You know, my son goes to Snow Hill Elementary over here, and sometimes we pack his lunch, sometimes we don't. And what do they feed him? Trash. Well, I had a pizza. I had strawberry milk. I had processed fruits, pineapple with the juice in it. It's got like 40 grams of sugar. Pure garbage. And then we're sick. And then guess what? Then you need health medication, blood pressure medication. You got this issue, you got this issue, you got cancer. Big Pharma loves all this. What a great business model that we have. And it's not throughout the world. This is right here specifically in the United States. If you look at the composition of food, for example, in Uzbekistan where I lived, or in Russia, there was much, much less concentration of food. There was no this big marketing plan to sell you on cereal. And who's the dude that bacon and eggs and the all-American breakfast or whatever it was?
Oh, Robert Bernays, the father of propaganda.
And cooked bacon is like one of the worst, if not the worst, foods that you can have. It's pig fat that's fried. So talk about cholesterol, talk about plugging up your arteries, your heart, high blood pressure, so on and so forth. And it's just commonly accepted. So again, what is commonly accepted that is pure garbage that we just consume? Well, we need to send Ukraine this money. Well, why? Well, why are we doing that? Like, what's the side effects? What's the impact? What's the long-term implications on this kind of stuff? So
you got borscht?
yeah, we just made some borscht.
Nice.
They need this borscht. If you guys haven't had any borscht, traditional Russian soup, people swear by it.
Soup.
Your food is your medicine. Medicine is not medicine. Medicine is garbage. Your food is your medicine. Man, I appreciate everybody here tonight, man. This has been really, really, really fun.
Listen, this is like this conversation. You guys are basically just watching a conversation, and you're actually engaging as part of a conversation that Arthur and I always have. Like, I'll be here and I'll tell Lori, like, hey, babe, we'll be home in 15 minutes. And then 2.5 hours later, I'm home, and she's like, well, you know, she's actually still the best. She's like, hey, babe, happy to see you. I'm like, nice. But, yeah, they kind of go off the rails. They go way off in the sticks. Like, this was supposed to be a discussion about Ukraine and NATO, and we're talking about school lunches now. So
I'm ADHD. I'm sorry, guys.
Listen, that's how these conversations go.
Lindsay says, school system is broken. School food is equal to the curriculum, which is equal to the way they run the P&L and finances. As a businessman and nutritionist, my grade would be D-.
Not an F. D's get degrees.
What?
D's get degrees.
You get a D and you can pass? I thought it was C's.
What? F is fail. I don't know what the school system is nowadays. I passed with a 1.67 GPA, baby.
You're a real genius, Tim.
Dude, I hated school.
Don't be hating on school pizza, says Sherry.
That's one of the things I loved about school, though.
With the ranch and the Bosco sticks. You remember that garbage?
Bosco sticks were after my time, man.
With the cheese sauce. What is cheese sauce? What kind of thing is this? What creation is that? What tree does that grow on?
Would you be surprised to find it's actually sap from some random vine?
Yeah. Making cheese sauce from this cheese tree.
Right.
I ain't never seen a cheese tree in my life before.
Caspo, my favorite was the fiestadas, the Mexican pizzas. Sour cream, lettuce, tomato, and taco sauce. Man.
Yeah, liquid plastic. D is a passing grade. What? I didn't know. I thought you have to get C's minimum. If my kids get C's, they get grounded. We're getting straight A's around here.
See, Jake, no. Fiestada, baby. Jeez, we're way off.
I don't even know what that is.
Fiestadas, it's a little like.
I know you just described that.
Pizzas, they're like octagons, I think, or were they? Were they octagons?
I wonder what they're feeding the
I'm pretty
kids
sure
in
they were
Ukraine.
octagon-shaped.
Do you guys know what they're feeding the kids in Ukraine in the schools? Are they feeding them fiestadas in school with the cheese sauce and the pizzas?
Well, if we want to talk about healthy eating and stuff like that and solving like hunger, why don't we plant more fruit trees? Like America, we're not short on water. I know one of the big arguments is that fruit trees absorb a lot of water, but imagine, because Springfield is actually a tree city. I don't know if you guys know that. We're supposed to be thank you, Caspo. We're supposed to be replacing the all the trees that get cut down. You know, we're a tree city. So what if we replace some of those trees with trees that grow food for the homeless? You know?
Why don't we grow them for the kids at the school?
Exactly. Why don't we have fruit trees at schools?
So
kids could learn how to grow them. They could learn how to, you know,
so eliminate
source things.
Trash lunches at school and give them fruits and vegetables. There you go. You're saving money on the budget. You're giving them something healthy. Invest into our kids. Cut out these dyes and these preservatives and these fillers and these plastics and this garbage. Let's get back to feeding our kids and protecting our kids. That was the other thing. Like, kids are our biggest asset. And why don't we have a single police officer at the school with a firearm and or other staff with protection against these? Like, for example, my kids go to Snow Hill and like all these different schools. There's only one school around here, which is Troy Christian, that actually has an armed guard. Like, why can't that be part of the budget? Why do we need this brand new facility, but we can't even protect our kids? And we're feeding them this garbage. I know in Clayton or Inglewood, where Todd was telling me his kids go to school, they have a security officer at school to protect those kids. Why can't we put that in the budget? We're spending billions and billions of dollars, and like people were like freaking out about cutting out Department of Education. We are a failing nation. We're 20-some in the world now for education, yet we spend the most money by far, close to none, close to second to none, to other nations. Yet teachers barely get paid. They still have to pay for their own supplies. We feed our kids trash and we can't protect them. So get rid of Department of Education. Give the parents a choice of where they want to send their kids. If this is a failing district, maybe you don't need to exist. And maybe it's not the students' fault. Maybe it's like the conditions of where the students live. Maybe if your parents live in the hood and they're working up 2 jobs and they're not able to provide, or maybe they're on drugs. Maybe you have a 1-parent household and you have, you know what I mean, all kinds of problems in the neighborhood where you live, and you can't stay focused, and that's not the main priority. Your priority is survival. I mean, I can understand where Springfield would be, and I'm not trying to hate on Springfield. I love Springfield. Okay. I love this city. I just want to be 100% clear. I love this community. That's why I'm taking the time to be here. I don't want to move to a Miami where we have a place. I don't want to move to another place. I'm sticking it out right here. And I want to be a part of the change that I want to see. It's part of the reason why we do the cleanups. It's part of the reason why we get out there, boots on the ground, and we actually do something. It's part of the reason why we're spending time on a Saturday evening right now at 9:09 talking to you guys about the different issues and how we can improve things. So I really appreciate you guys coming on and hopping on and sharing your thoughts and ideas with us on a Saturday night.
Well, I wanted to go back real quick because Missy and Sherry both said something. So Missy, yeah, what I was saying is basically reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're like the basics of learning, but there's also like primal basics, things that go beyond that. So learning what to do when the lights go off, you know, when you don't have electricity, when you don't have power, when you don't have gas. Kids don't know that stuff. They don't learn that stuff. They don't know where their meat comes from. They don't know where their fruit comes from, their veggies come from. So yeah, I'm talking about teaching the kids how to do that kind of stuff because that would in turn hopefully teach them common sense, because they're learning they're going to learn a lot of things that are valuable there.
I just replied to a comment.
That was supposed to be an emoji. Come on, dog. You can't just type out 100.
The more dead foods you eat, the more dead you feel. The more live foods you eat, the more live you feel.
Let me tell you, there's a guy named Fraser Bailey.
Boom.
I love this guy. Fraser Bailey.
Shout out to Fraser Bailey.
Dude, this guy is a animal. He is a beast. And his main thing, the main thing he says, and he tells everybody,
see you, Jake,
eat the rainbow, right? So have things that are lively and colorful on your plate. Generally of different colors. Like, you don't want a whole plate that's just all green. Like, you're going to get vitamins and nutrients if you eat a very colorful plate of food. And I'm not talking about, food colors.
Missy, what is the idea?
That's what I said. It was the idea. It was the idea of
Oh, okay. I got you.
teaching kids to plant things,
Gotcha.
and grow things, and source food and source things. And
Jerry, paying $20 million to people over 100, 200, 360 years old. Yeah. How's that even possible? I don't know. Maybe they voted too. Yeah, a lot of kids don't eat. That's a good point, unless they eat at school. So let's give them some healthy options at least. Jake, I love your comment. I'm out for the night. I'm going to go tell my kids how good the fiestadas used to be and then remind them how lucky they are for access to quality foods now. Good night. Oh, man, that's great. No life skills, no manners, and the emphasis on self. Service to others used to be taught.
Well, so that's because we're in a social media age, and we're seeing. I've had this conversation so much lately. You think that they're focused on themselves, but they're really focused on everyone else. They're looking at all of the best versions of their friends on social media, and they're seeing that their friends are living these beautiful lives, and their friends are always looking so good. And they're looking at themselves. They see themselves all the time, but they only see the good things from their friends. So they're like, why is my life so bad? They're living a life of comparison. And I don't think that's fair. They shouldn't be comparing themselves to their friends like that, because it's all of the things you see on Facebook generally are filtered. They're made up.
A lot of good engagement, guys. If everyone cared about their communities as much as you guys do, the change would happen quickly. Thank you for bringing these relevant topics to the surface.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we're going to start these cleanups again here shortly. So I know a lot of you guys are on here, but I'd like for a lot of you guys to get out there and spread the word. The more people we can get, the more we can clean up. And there's some places we had a few people. Yeah, Cecilia showed up to one of them.
Thank you, Cecilia.
We touched some places and we spent hours, but our crew just isn't big enough. And we barely made a dent, So we need people. We need a lot of people this year to hopefully come out and help us get the streets cleaned up and make Springfield beautiful again, because we love Springfield. I know you guys love Springfield. That's why we're all here. So just spread the word. Let everybody know we're doing these cleanups. And normally we're doing them like once every other week if we can. But we'll let you know. And it's really awesome. We have who is that? What's that company that's giving us the trailer?
Clark County Solid Waste.
Yeah, Solid Waste. They help us out, man. They have this awesome trailer full of these things, and you can rent this stuff. Listen, this is not a proprietary idea. We're not the only people who are like, hey, if you go clean up a street, you took our idea. I don't care. Do it. If you want to go clean some stuff up, absolutely. Get a hold of Clark County Solid Waste, and you can clean up Springfield. But if you want to do it together, come out.
I spend my life cleaning up. I clean up distractions of the food and pharmaceutical industries.
And you've done a great job.
And much needed and much appreciated. Thank you. So lucky and honored to have Lindsay on here. Man, he's been on here for a while. I want to get back together, Lindsay. If you got some time, maybe we can sit down again. Really,
yeah, we'll go to
really inspiring. You guys need to follow Lindsay Duncan. Check out All In Nutritionals. If you guys aren't focusing on your health and looking at different supplies, Lindsay, I just wanted to share. This is my personal testimony. I have some health things that I've been dealing with for the last couple of years, and he put me on. Matter of fact,
sorry, we got to touch on that after you're done.
What was I saying? Oh, he put me on. I was having some digestive things going on, and I called him out of the blue one time because it was just I had something going on. It was like maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. He picked the phone. Who picks up their phone at 10 o'clock at night, 9:30 o'clock at night? And we had a conversation, and I followed the plan. And to this day, I can tell you I don't have the issues that I had. Thank you to your plan, Lindsay. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.
And look at this. Like, if you are a business person and you shout out your company on here, we know Lindsay. We've been shouting him out the whole thing. This whole conversation we've been having. We've been talking about how awesome Lindsay is.
And he's a local entrepreneur.
And he really is.
Local legend. Not just local, but build $1 billion business. Like I don't know many people that have done that. I know a lot of millionaires on this feed, but not a lot of people build billion-dollar companies.
Where was that? Okay, so Cassandra Solomon says, "Love our city, excitement mark, excitement mark." I told Arthur yesterday, let's plan our first spring cleanup in March. So let's go ahead and plan that out right now. Why don't we just go ahead and set a date while we're on here? Put it in your calendar.
I don't have that in front of me, but it will be announced very soon. Actually, if you guys come to the estate planning, if you guys have any significant amount of resources, we know we love to give back. We love to educate. And so one of the things that we're doing, which is this Friday, starting at 10:30 at Richwood Bank at 2454 North Limestone Street, starting at 10:30, we're going to have an attorney, my personal attorney, estate attorney. She does wills, trusts, estates, the whole 9 yards. One of the best attorneys, Sarah Worley, with Duncan and Lefevre. If you guys research them, they're one of the best companies that keep winning best attorney firms in the Dayton area. They're out of Troy. She set up our life estate and our living trust. And she's going to be out talking about that topic, living estate planning this Friday, free of charge. If you guys are watching this, it's free of charge. She usually charges $500 an hour. So you guys will get massive value. She's going to be there for 90 minutes to answer your questions, to do a presentation. We're going to stick around to see if you have any other additional questions that we can help with. We're not attorneys or anything, but we hope to see you guys there. Please RSVP. We have an event link on Eventbrite and on Facebook as well, if you guys wanted to come to that. And maybe by that time, we'll announce our first cleanup for the year, which we're really excited about.
But also, I want to let you guys know that this Living Trust event that we're doing, it's not just for people who need living trust for themselves. It's for people who are considering how they can help other, loved ones, like older relatives or even younger relatives, kind of get their trust together. Because, listen, the hardest thing that we see is when people have to sell a loved one's house, and they really have to go through the ringer to get it done because there was no probate, there was no plan, So now you're trying to grieve your loved one, but you also have to deal with the courts. You have to deal with all kinds of crap. But if you can get this stuff in writing, said and done.
Boom. I love it. Thank you, Chris. Again, he just highlighted all the different minerals and
But
Ukraine.
He went into detail. Get
Trump
out of
is
here.
working on these resources as a way to pay back the U.S. for the aid, but I don't think that Putin would also have some interest in these resources. Of course, Putin would have interest. Do you think Putin wants the United States involved in Ukraine? No, no, he would not. So it's a power play.
An awesome comment. What the heck?
Scroll.
Sorry, I'm just interested.
Later in the month.
Nope, tomorrow.
Somebody that cares for the people. I think it's Josh, Lindsay. If we see what he says, if we all didn't love Springfield, we wouldn't be doing this at 9:20 p.m. on a Saturday night. Let's clean this up, make Springfield great. I love it. I love that.
I think that we should start closing this thing out. That's right. SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist, Sisler Real Estate Solutions.
I'm there. Boom, he's pulling up. Let's go. Can't wait. Well, we'll set a date. Do you guys have any final thoughts, questions?
Questions at all?
Anything and everything. We've talked so much. We've covered so much ground. And we could probably do this for another 3 hours. But
let's take a poll. What time do you think I'm going to get home? Lori, don't answer.
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys for all the comments, questions, engagement. It's been really, really fun. We're going to have to do this again. This has been a real blast. Love doing this with Tim Sisler, my homie. Go back
quite some time.
Way back. Decade.
You got married on my birthday.
Yeah. Thank you, Sherry. Oh, it's Papa's turn. It's not. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's my turn to put the kids to bed, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll do this again. Love you guys, and we'll talk with you guys soon. Finish it out, Tim?
Yeah.
Can you do that of the YouTube one, too?
I don't know how to do this. What are you talking about? I'm just going to push in video now.
Yeah.
Bada bop boom pow.
YouTube. Whoa.
Holy shit.
Yo, yo, yo. We have people on here. So, hey, Kyle Snyder's on here. What's up? Prairie. Why don't you talk to him a minute?
What, baby sister?
Tried to lock you out. You better tell him what's up.
Hi, girl. Oh, hi, Bishka. Oh, Bishka, he's giving me.
Timbo tried to lock you
Whose
out.
turn is it? Whose turn is it? It's Papa's turn. Oh.
Sorry, guys. We actually been on a Facebook feed, although it's been running on YouTube as well.
We're talking about so many things. We're not talking about anything
Here, tell the people good night.
big.
Tell the people good night. Sorry, I got my.
Say, tell him it's bedtime.
Say good night.
Good night.
That's all you gotta say?
Love you, baby.
Love you, mate.
Can I have a kiss?
Say good night, world.
Good night, Will.
Can you do this?
So, you guys, thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry. We're going to have to figure this out, how we can run multiple streams and answer comments at the same time. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be seeing you guys soon.
I want more too.
Yeah, I got